I know she's at my point.
She is teaching her grandson.
It's
how to ride
taping.
the bicycle.
It's recording now.
Okay, so
So
we set it up here.
we're live. So if you could just ask everybody, please talk, and not to talk over each other.
Oh, there will be none of that.
Good.
But that was her job yesterday. She was going over. So make sure you video it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Did you guys get it to work?
All right.
Yes.
It's 6:03. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Please call the roll, Ms. Montgomery.
Tony?
Here.
Loretta? Here. Lorraine?
Here.
Dennis?
Here.
Mike?
Here. Please join me in the invocation. Dennis, will you lead the pledge? Lord, we just thank you for this day that you have given us and this time we have together. We pray that you will guide us and that we will make wise decisions for the citizens of Holly Hill. Pray all this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first order of business.
I just want to hand that to her so she has the Wi-Fi again.
Oh, okay.
That's a password.
Wi-Fi. First order of business is to elect a chair. I told you all at the end of the last meeting, that I would sit again if you so desire. So, do I
I'd like to
have,
make a motion.
I'll second.
all right, motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, and your
Thank
motion
you for
is,
serving in that seat, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your confidence. I hope you still have it at the end of the evening.
Everybody could just speak up a little bit. 'cause we
Oh, yeah,
have
everybody
sounds.
needs to speak up because our recording system is not working, so we're depending on this little hand recorder, and we need to get it, for Leslie's sake, we need to get recorded. All right, so I have a motion and a second, and no discussion. The motion is for Mike Meyer to be the chairman for this upcoming year, and call the question, please.
I'm sorry, what was it called, the question?
Yeah.
Tony?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Loretta?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll abstain. All right, thank you.
You can vote it, you're not being paid.
Okay, I vote for Dennis.
You probably should also elect a vice chair.
Oh, that's right, good, thank you, Scott, for reminding us that. So we need a vice chair? Would you mind continuing to serve?
I'll be more than glad.
Well, thank you very much. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, this time we'll do it by voice.
Lorraine did the first.
Yeah. And this time we'll do it by voice. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed reply like sign. Hearing none, the vote carries, motion carries. Thank you, Dennis. All right, minutes. Going to review the minutes. There's two meetings of minutes to review. I had a couple of questions. There's a section in there about section 8232, expiration time on the variance. I don't recall that in the discussion at all, and it doesn't fit in the context of the discussion.
The variance has to be exercised within a certain period of time.
Right,
And it's in the code that if the individual does nothing to exercise the provisions of the variance, that it expires.
right.
Sometimes you have folks who, they have the idea that they're going to move forward with the variance, and for whatever reason, they don't. And so after a specific period of time, after 18 months, if nothing's been done, then that ability expires.
Right. I just thought I didn't understand why it was there. I don't remember that part of the discussion where we were coming to that, where that
It's
was
just in there
relative.
for informative reason. It's
Okay.
not anything that you need to include in your motion. It's something that's in the code, and it's.
This is in
I guess you
the
could
last
say
month's,
self-executing.
this is in the 2 months ago's meeting. this is in the minutes, and where the fellow wanted the setback, 4.9 foot setback, when he had all the room in the world behind the house.
Correct.
But that's why I just didn't understand, it just didn't fit in there, and I wasn't getting it, so,
It's probably more to be informative for the applicant.
okay.
So that
Oh,
make sure they know.
maybe that question came up, all right,
Well,
okay,
just, it's in the documentation we provide, so they
All right.
know they have to begin, they gotta do the work provided for in the variance within 18 months or it expires.
okay. All right, I got it now,
But
no,
otherwise,
the flash just came back to me, yep,
There are several, I mean, oftentimes citizens, when they come and they receive the variance, they don't know that it expires after a certain period of time. And sometimes the timing of when they ask for it may change depending on
yeah,
when it expires.
right,
So I like to let them know up front.
okay, all right. And right below that, I think there was no one, I think that was a none, should have been none.
I'm sorry.
And just below that, right below that section, Mr. Meyer asked for a motion to approve the variance to the city commission. There was no one. Should that be none, I think?
I think it should be none.
Okay, thank you.
That might have been a typo.
All right. All right. Does anyone else have anything about these minutes? Additions, deletions, corrections? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
All right, so we're approving the first ones, most from, we'll do both of them at the same time, I take that back. So anybody look at the second one? Everyone look at the second one? Second minutes from the, what's that date? Whatever it is. December 4th? No, nothing? Everything's okay? All right. Then if there's no additions, deletions, or corrections, I'd entertain a motion to approve both of those sets of minutes.
Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve in a second.
Second.
All righty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, reply like sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. I had absolutely no intention of printing all these 124 pages, but it happened.
That's why I quit
I
doing
wanted to do what you're doing. I lost my, there it is. All right. Mr. Walker, you're up.
Yes, Chair, Board. This item concerns 975 Gulf Avenue. It's actually two ordinances. One is an ordinance that enacts a small-scale future land use map amendment. And then there's also with that an associated text amendment that's related to the comprehensive plan amendment from low-density residential to commercial. And then, as stated, a separate ordinance which would enact an IPUD major amendment for approximately 5 acres. And this is for property that's on the south side of Gulf Avenue. It's about 1,100 feet east of South Nova Road, and more specifically known as 975 Gulf Avenue. So this particular property was annexed into the city of Holly Hill from Volusia County. When it was annexed into the city of Holly Hill, it was basically a salvage yard, those many years back. And on February 11th, 2003, the city commission approved an ordinance that rezoned the property from R2, which was Volusia County's zoning district, to IPUD, which is an industrial plan unit development that is part of Holly Hill's zoning designation. And that particular zoning continued to allow the non-conforming use of a salvage yard. And also any things that were related to what a salvage yard may do. So back then, if you fast forward a couple of years to July 25th, 2006, the City Commission considered a major amendment to that IPUD because the salvage yard just was not fitting in with the surrounding homes and residential character of the area. So what happened was there was an amendment to that IPUD that said, okay, the salvage uses will not be allowed to continue, and instead what they would be able to do is have air-conditioned single-phase storage with a manager's residence. So at present, that's what's permitted. Air-conditioned personal storage, that's all supposed to be done in one phase and with a manager's residence. Well, in February of 2021, the current owner came, submitted a site plan application to develop 10 buildings that total 61,800 square feet, and that consists of 258 storage units. But as of yet, the property still remains undeveloped. Well, recently, about 7 months ago, July 6, 2023, the applicant submitted an application to request that some additional changes be made to the IPUD. Because right now, they can do storage, but it has to be air-conditioned, it has to have, all be done in one phase, and it has to have a manager's residence. So they felt that this wasn't practical in today's times and with their specific area. So the request now is to allow non-air conditioned units, permit that the development occur in 2 phases and not just one, and to eliminate the requirement for a manager's residence, since it'll be a gate type system. Folks will be able to come and go as needed. Also, the name of the IPUD will be changed to Riviera Oaks Self-Storage IPUD. So that's the major amendment portion of this request. Now, the applicant is also requesting that the land use be changed from low-density residential to commercial in order to bring the project into conformity with the city's comprehensive plan. This is typically done, this particular step is typically done when a property is annexed from a county into a city. When it comes into the city, the zoning is changed to a zoning that's similar to what was in the county, but also the land use, the future land use, or the comprehensive plan portion of it is also changed, so that property now carries the city zoning and land use. For some reason, back in 2002, which I could not find out why, the future land use portion of it never happened. So what you have is, you have a piece of property that has been approved by the commission for personal storage, which is fairly quiet in a residential surrounding, but it is commercial, but it carries a residential low-density future land use. So there's that incompatibility. So the request is to change the land use to one that is compatible, which would be a commercial land use. But then the concern is, okay, well, if you have a commercial land use, that basically would allow them to do anything commercial in that area, which really would not be a good match for the houses that are that back up against the property. So if they came in and said, we want to do a bar, we want to do a car lot, we want to do a restaurant, that kind of thing under commercial land use, they could conceivably do that. So that's why we've tied to this a text amendment which will restrict the commercial use to what's already been approved. And so that is that for the parcel known at 975 Gulf Avenue and legally described in the attachment named Legal Description of Gulf Avenue, parcel with commercial use, the limitation shall be restricted to development consisting of personal storage with a maximum floor area ratio of 0.30, and development of said parcel shall be governed by a PD and written development agreement and preliminary plan. So approving the future land use from residential to commercial, the only thing that they can do is the personal storage. Although it's commercial, they can't come in and do a restaurant. They can only do what's already been approved. Okay? In your in your information packet, your staff report, there's site information. I won't go over every detailed item unless you'd like me to. As far as zoning and land uses, there's a zoning and land use table to kind of give you a picture of what's going on around the property. There's also a project analysis, and I won't go into too much detail on this. What I will say is that when we do a future land use change, we look at the impacts to infrastructure and what they will be at the highest levels. So if the property was developed at the highest level that's permitted now, or low-density residential, what would be the impacts to traffic, solid waste, water, sewer, that type of thing. And if it were developed at its highest potential under commercial, what would be the impacts to traffic, water, sewer, and that type of thing. And we compare them. And then we say, okay, is the city able to accommodate those increases if there is indeed an increase? And so that's one of the things that we look at. For traffic, we used an analysis that was done by LTG Engineering and Planning for actually a different property, but the circumstances were the same. And so you had a situation where you had folks that it was a low-density residential property going to a commercial use for storage, and so the scenario is the same. So what was done is we looked at the particular number of storage units here and saw how many trips would be generated and how many would be generated under residential if it were built out to its greatest or most highest impact, and found that for the amount of dwelling units, 30 dwelling units, residential dwelling units, it would generate about approximately 118 daily trips if you had 30 residential units. And then we said if you had 500 storage units, how much traffic would be generated on a daily basis, and it would be approximately 92, because you have less people going to storage units than you do daily in a residential community. So the impact to overall traffic is less, since a lot of times people put something in a storage unit and they may leave it there for months, whereas in a home, you have people coming and going on a daily basis. We looked at the same thing for impacts to water and wastewater and solid waste, and it's not difficult to understand that for water and wastewater, a personal storage unit is going to use less than a single-family home. So the impacts there were less. Again, I won't go through all of the actual numbers unless you'd like me to.
No, thank you.
For stormwater management, the project has been reviewed using the requirements of the city, also St. John River Water Management District and FEMA, and the property, the impacts meet the requirements of those agencies. We looked at the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan and find that it meets those as well. Again, I won't go into all of the details unless you'd like me to. And with regard to, one of the things is that you have to find when you do a land use amendment that it meets section 163.3177 of the Florida statutes, and that has to do with urban sprawl. And in general terms, and is directed by the statutes and the rules of the Florida Administrative Code, key urban sprawl indicators are things like leapfrog development, premature development, and this doesn't take on those characteristics. So this would not be considered urban sprawl. Based on that, staff would recommend that the commission would adopt an ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan by amending the future land use map designation of the parcel totaling approximately 5 acres and listed and legally described in Exhibit A, which is included in your staff report, by virtue of a small-scale future land use map amendment changing the future land use map designation from low-density residential to commercial, and to further limit the permitted commercial activity on such parcels to 500 mini warehouse storage units via comprehensive plan, text amendment, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. And then a separate ordinance adopting a proposed ordinance approving a major amendment to the IPUD known as Plaza Grande LLC IPUD for approximately 5 acres located on the south side of Gulf Avenue, approximately 1,100 feet east of Nova Road South, and more specifically known as 975 Gulf Avenue. That concludes my general presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. I have a question for you. Help me with the floor area ratio. It baffles me.
Floor area ratio is basically when you basically take the total floor area and you divide it by the area of the plot. So if you have, for example, if you have a building, just for the sake of simplicity, and the building is 100 square feet, and the lot is 100 square feet, then your floor area ratio is 1.
Okay.
If you have a lot that is 100 square feet, and your building is 25 square feet, then you have a floor area ratio of 0.25. So it represents a percentage of the lot. How much building can you put on a specific lot? Now, sometimes you can get a floor area ratio that is much greater than what the lot size is, and that's because although the building may not cover the entire lot, it may be several floors, and each floor is considered space. So if you have a lot, let's say, that is 100 square feet, and you've got a building that's only 25 square feet, but then you make 8 floors of 25 square feet, now you've got 200 square feet on a 100 square foot lot. So now you have a floor area ratio that is higher than what even the size of the size of the lot. So it's a measurement of intensity, and that's how we measure the intensity of commercial things. The intensity of residential is measured in dwelling units per acre. So when you hear dwelling units per acre, you know that we're talking about residential. If you hear floor area ratio, you know that we're talking about commercial. So when you say a floor area ratio of 0.3, you're basically saying that a little less than a third of the lot can be covered with building.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
If I could get this. I'm missing some pages, so I'm trying to get this on my phone to get it back, and I keep putting the wrong email in. Excuse me one moment. I'll be right back with
You
you.
want us to bring it up here? Sure.
No, well, that's all right. I can see it better right here.
Would you like to use the
It'll only
microphone?
take me a second, I promise. Unless I download the same darn thing again for the third time. All right, that's it. Okay, got it. I'm there now. Okey doke. Is there someone here to speak for this project? Please come up. Speak loudly because we're being taped by this little machine right here. Tell us your name and where you're from. That's not us.
I thought it sounded like it was working when I moved it, so. I'm Brandon Atkins, I'm with 975 Gulf Road, self-storage, and Mr. Walker did a fantastic job of kind of recapping everything on the project and where we've come from. I don't know if there's any outstanding questions or anything. I think he did a pretty good job of summarizing everything of kind of where the properties come from, and you know, in a lot of the dirt moving and some of the activities that we've done on the property so far. I think that the previous use of the property was as a somewhat of a junkyard. I think that the previous owner had access to an excavator and some of the rules and oversight of some of those things in the past. I think some of that kind of became part of a junkyard.
Better speak up a little bit, or this won't,
Yep.
or we won't get it.
Yeah, so some of that, I think, became part of kind of a burial junkyard for them in the past, and so one of the great parts of putting a storage facility in is that we kind of encapsulate all of that and limit a lot of any of that stuff that would percolate or move underground. So got a couple things that way, and then lastly, just a little bit about us. I'm from Wisconsin. We build storage units all over the country, and we found this parcel here in lovely Holly Hill and fell in love with it. Love the community, love the neighbors that we have around, and we're real heavy on technology, so we do things a little bit different than most storage facilities do. To start with, we have security cameras in every single storage unit, so we put security and all that back on the renter. So if something were to happen in their facility or in their storage unit, then they get a notification on their smartphone, kind of like a Ring camera or a Arlo that you have on your phone. And then we do blanket the outside with cameras. All of our lights are downward facing, wall pack, so we try to limit any light exposure. We've got buildings that go along the exterior of the property to try and encapsulate the light, and we've got a retention pond that wraps around the exterior of the property and the front to set it back off of the road to kind of limit a lot of that visibility. So aside from a small sign, a little bit of lighting that'll be back in, I think we're fairly limited on our impact into the neighborhood. I think it's a great land use for a property that has the history of the property that this does here at Gulf Road. So, does anybody have any questions or anything? Brian did a great job of kind of recapping.
Question, Mr. Kassoff, go ahead.
Yeah. How do you keep your renters from running a business out of personal storage? To me, is personal storage.
Yep. So, a great question, and something that we have to combat quite frequently. So number one, in their contract and their lease agreement, it prohibits that. Prohibits anybody trying to live in, stay in any of the storage units. We're pretty active on our security side of things, so we blanket the outside of the property with cameras. There's cameras on the entrance. There's a gate on the entrance. Some stuff is impossible to just like with a house.
Do you have a minimum square footage and a maximum? Are you building a 100 square foot storage unit and then a 1,500 square foot?
So we're pretty boring. All of our buildings are 40 foot wide. We do stick build, so it's one wall every 10 feet, and then we put a divider wall in there. So we get a unit mix out of them, and there's various sizes from a 5 foot by 10 foot unit on the ends to I think our largest unit is a 5 by 30. So, or excuse me, a 10 by 30 foot unit. So
300 square feet.
yeah. So.
Okay, more? Yes, ma'am.
I guess my question is more, it's currently zoned for 500 units, is that the current
That
zone?
might be a question from.
They're currently zoned for personal storage.
Okay,
And they can put as much personal storage as their floor area ratio permits. They are within the floor area ratio of the 0.3 guideline. The reason why the 500 was mentioned is because they actually have the ability to develop more if they choose to. It gives them some flexibility. But at no point can they develop more than a floor area ratio. They cannot cover more than 30% of the property. If they want to do smaller units, maybe they can get more, and maybe get up to 500 units, or if they want to do less, they can do less and have 100 and have maybe they want to have 10 or 10 storage units, but they're very large, or 100 storage units.
They can make them
and
any
they're-
size.
Right, it's just there to give them some flexibility, and we have to put parameters somewhere. So that's just a figure, that's just a number that was picked. And as long as they are able to meet the guidelines of what that floor area ratio is and what the site plan regulations are, and meet the stormwater requirements, then they can go up to that.
So what we're changing is basically making it commercial use, but the use that's already permitted is exactly the same. You're just modifying the specifics, the details of that?
Right, so from the zoning perspective, what you're doing is you're saying you don't have to do air conditioned. You don't have to do a manager's residence, and you're allowed to do it in more than one phase. Sometimes they like to do, the reason why sometimes they want to do more than one phase is because they may want to do the front units, get a number of front units, get customers in them, develop a cash flow, and then use that to develop the rear portion. And so what happens is now it's in 2 phases instead of having to all be built at the same time. So they're asking that you allow them to do it in 2 phases. Those are the 3 main changes of the zoning, if you will. No air conditioning, no manager residence, and can we do it in more than one phase? From the land use perspective, future land use perspective, you're saying it's okay to go from low-density residential, which is residential, to commercial, but we're putting a restriction on the type of commercial, and the restriction that we're putting on your commercial is that you can only do personal storage. So that's kind of what's happening here.
And do we have a timeline of when the project's going to start?
So, yeah, we did break ground already. Civil plans were approved already, so we're in the process of plan review on the building permits.
A little louder, please.
Sorry, we're in the process of plan review on the building permits currently, so as soon as those are approved, then construction will start back up and wrap up, so.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions. Thank you, Brian.
On the others that you have built, did you have management residents on those, or do you have a variety, or?
So historically, when the PUD was put in place on this property, historically, with a storage facility, you'd have a local manager that would live on the property, and they would check people in and check people out. With technology that's been developed now, you know, with the cameras, we can do a much better job of managing stuff.
Remotely.
You know, that everything's automated, everything's.
You use electronic keys?
They have a code, they have a PIN code.
Yeah.
So, and then they get login credentials to the camera inside their unit, and so all those things are things that we use also to combat, you know, somebody trying to sleep in the unit or stay in the unit or operate a business out of the unit. But yeah, so now it's somewhat dated to have a manager on site where we can, all the software is processed. You know, so somebody calls in now. We went to PUD. I don't know that we even had internet like it is today. You know. Back then, it was somebody would find a storage unit off of driving around and seeing it, and now most storage is found by somebody Googling, you know, where's storage around me. So this would be something that's unique to one of the first in the state of Florida to have cameras inside every storage unit. So, yeah, but some of that stuff we just, with the AC, with doing climate controlled, a lot of that stuff we do passively. So our structural and civil engineers or architectural engineers have designed the storage unit so that they passively cool the air and treat the air so we don't have condensation issues or moisture issues inside of the storage units. And heat's not necessary like it is up in Wisconsin where I'm from. So.
Thank you.
Dennis? No. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for your time.
Is there anyone out here who would like to speak against this project? Raise your hand, please. I'll recognize you. Is there anyone out there who would like to speak for the project? All right, seeing none. I would, excuse me, you may.
Thank you, Michael. I'm Mark Kaufman. I own 965 Gulf Avenue. And I've met Brian before, and he's quite a gentleman, and he has my full support. The only thing that I would like to present to the council here is the property line with mine and with Brian's. There's actually 21 feet difference. And being on Gulf Avenue, most of our concerns are security. We do have all of the things that we have done is try to protect the properties that the individual owners have in that area. So we still have the homeless, and nothing against homeless at all, but some of the people that associate with the homeless are, well, they could be dangerous. So we erected fences, and we try to keep the traffic down from Gulf Avenue, and then they go down into the dog park, which is behind us. So in doing this, and I spoke to Brandon about this before, there's a 21-foot area that is between my property, and it's not shown here on the map, okay, and Brandon's property. And the only thing I had ever suggested with Brandon was, you know, if we could secure that a little better once that opens up, then that would be a good thing. And we're just trying to bring this, I'm just bringing this up.
Okay.
Not only for myself, my wife, but some of our neighbors. We let the district, Brian, I should have met you before. So I'm not here to object against the building, and I think the world of Brian, but again, we're just more concerned about what kind of traffic it may bring into the area, and the traffic that we try to protect ourselves with or from, okay, right now. I believe in electronic security that Brian is speaking about, okay, but still, you know, when you have the renters that are coming in and out, I don't know what that exposes us to, but I put my trust in Brian. As far as the outer perimeter, and I need to really probably show Brian what the difference is in the 21 feet between my property and Brandon's. Have I been calling you Brian?
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've been.
I thought you meant him.
We're going on about 30, I've been up for about 36 hours, so I apologize.
If you heard that little ding, you might not have, there was a little ding, so you need to wrap yourself up
All
right
right.
there. Thank you.
So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the opportunity to be heard.
Thank you.
But I'll throw my support behind Brian. Did I say it again? I apologize.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yes,
Can I
Tony?
ask a question, Mike?
To
Your
this gentleman?
property adjoins his property?
Well, according to this map, it does, but it doesn't.
Well, who owns the 21 feet between?
You do.
us? Huh? The city?
Apparently, the city.
So there's it's a very common in that part of the town, in that part of the county, actually, to have gaps and overlaps. And that's what you've got there.
What they did, Tony, was
Okay.
back in the day, they surveyed from Nova Road, okay? east.
Exactly. And then somebody
And then
surveyed from
somebody
US
came back
1
and
west.
Did just the opposite, right,
Absolutely.
Michael?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, that was the,
Okay.
yeah, it's.
I can see where that would happen back in the day, Mike.
Oh, this still happens
Today.
still.
Today, no.
It happens today.
If I may say one thing.
No, sir, you
I'll be happy
can't.
to buy that little parcel, piece of property, because it's vacant. All of the growth from that property, you know, it's a constant battle to keep it up with our yard and that yard. And plus it'd be beneficial for Brandon if I was there to be able to take more care of it. But right now, we have it fenced off and for the protection that's
All right.
talked about.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you very much.
Sir, come by and see me if you'd like. We'll sit down, show me what you're talking about. Thank you. All right.
All right. Okay. Oh, there it is. Too many pages. All right. I would accept, excuse me? Ma'am, are you speaking for or against?
For.
Okay. Come on.
So you guys, I live at 979 Golf Avenue.
And what's your name?
Rose Rodriguez.
Rose?
Yes.
Again. Louder,
I'm all-
please.
I'm all for it.
What's your name, please?
Rose Rodriguez.
Adriga.
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez. Oh, Rodriguez. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm all for it. You know, it's just that property's been sitting there for a long time. We bought our house back in 2012, so we've had a lot of, like he said, homeless people living there. So it's been, I secured my house completely. I have cameras everywhere, I have dogs, I have fences. So by this storage unit coming in, I'm all for it. I think it's a great thing to have. These, you know, the whole security system, I think that's just gonna help us at the end of the day. So I'm all for it, that's what I'm
Super.
going to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this is your last chance. Are you speaking for it?
Well, yes and no.
No, sir. I asked you, are you speaking for it or are you speaking against it?
I'm speaking for it,
Okay, didn't speak.
but I've got other things too. My name's Tim Schwab. I live at 1024 Cala Grande, right on the corner.
All right.
And, you know, if it's gonna be a storage unit, I'd rather see that with less traffic. But with the traffic, and anybody can come and sit in my driveway anytime they want and see all the people cutting that corner, okay? Now you're gonna have people pulling trailers and everything else. And my mailbox has been taken out at least a half a dozen times. The trash people told me I need to move my stuff farther to the next door neighbors, but the traffic there is just, it's horrible on that corner. You all know it. Everybody knows it in this town. They fly around that corner, whether they're going to Publix, which everybody and their brother does, or they're going around the corner and going up the hill. And these people, anybody that lives up on Gulf Avenue knows, they gun it and fishtail and everything else. So I was just saying, you know, something needs to be done on that street on the corner.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Are you sure? Okay. All right. Hearing none. This is ridiculous. There, sounds. We're going to do this in 2 votes, is that right, Scott?
Yes,
Okay. And
I would do the land use vote first.
the land use vote first. All right. Brian, will you read that recommendation for me, please?
Adopt an ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan by amending the future land use map designation of a parcel totaling approximately 5 acres, listed and legally described in Exhibit A, by virtue of a small-scale future land use map amendment, changing the future land use map designation from low-density residential to commercial, and to further limit permitted commercial activity on such parcel to 500 mini warehouse storage units via a comprehensive plan text amendment, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
And that we have this parcel number, blah, 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 also known as 975, legally described as, shall be restricted to development consisting of personal storage with a maximum floor area of 0.3. Development said parcel shall be governed by the PD written development and agreement with preliminary plat, right?
Yes, that's what the text portion of it.
That's the text portion. All right. Do I have a motion for that?
Make a motion to accept.
For that
as read.
recommendation? Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Please call the question.
Dennis?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Loretta?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes. Motion carries. Well, motion is to recommend the change with contingencies. All right. Now will you read the second one, please?
Yes. Adopt a proposed ordinance approving a major amendment to the IPUD known as the Plaza Grande LLC, IPUD for approximately 5 acres located on the south side of Gulf Avenue, approximately 1,100 feet east of Nova Road South, and more specifically known as 975 Gulf Avenue.
Do I have a motion for that recommendation?
I make a motion.
I have a
as read.
motion. Do I have a
Second.
second? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please call the question.
Dennis?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Loretta?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes. So the recommendation carries. So that will go to the city commission.
Yes, that will go on the 23rd of January.
Okay, January 23rd. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Atkins.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Walker, you're up on for number 2, please.
Yes. This concerns a property known as 1088 10th Street. This is to consider an ordinance which will enact a rezone from R6, which is a low-density multifamily residential district, to a residential plan unit development. And this is for approximately 9.4 acres. This is on the northeast corner of the intersection of 10th and Vine Streets. And again, it's more specifically known as 1088 10th Street. Now, if we go back to January of 2021, the City Commission voted to approve the annexation of this property into the city of Holly Hill. And at that time, or around that time, the zoning and land use were also changed. The zoning was changed from UMI, which is urban medium density Volusia County, to medium density residential Holly Hill. And the future land use was changed from R5, which is an urban single-family residential under Volusia County's jurisdiction, to R6, which is low-density multifamily residential in Holly Hill. So this particular property, except for a home on it that's approximately 1,600 square feet, that was built back in 1958, the property has remained undeveloped, and the applicant has recently submitted a plan to develop the property with a 3-story, 70-unit multifamily apartment building. The proposed density is 10.41 dwelling units per acre, which is actually a couple of units less than they're allowed per acre. So they're not trying to develop it at its highest permitted density. They're asking to develop it at a lower density, which was already approved with the rezone back in 2021. So there were public hearings at that time that established the zoning, and so the zoning and the use for multifamily at that time was already established. The project does meet the requirements of the medium-density residential future land use, and the project again proposes 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units. So, the only reason why we're here tonight is because the R6 zoning district, again, they can develop apartments, that's not the question, and they can develop at greater density than what they're asking for. So they're coming in and they're saying, we're going to develop at a lower density, which less people, less traffic, but the R6 zoning designation allows the minimum square footage for an apartment to be 900 square feet and an average of 1,000 square feet. Well, they want to do 1-bedrooms that are not necessarily 900 square feet, or 2-bedrooms that are not necessarily 900 square feet. So what they want to do is ask that their 1-bedrooms be a minimum of 600 square feet, maybe a little bit more, but it won't be less, and that their 2-bedrooms be a minimum of 850 square feet. Again, that would be a minimum. Might be more, but it won't be less. And then the 3-bedrooms would be a minimum of 1,000 square feet. So that's why we're here, because the zoning under R6 says your minimum apartment size is 900, and they're saying, we'll do a minimum for 1-bedroom, 600, minimum of 850 for 2-bedrooms, and the 3-bedrooms will be a minimum of 1,000. So that's the gist of what's being asked for. There's project information in your agenda packet. I won't go over all the details again unless you'd like. For the zoning and surrounding land uses, those are in your packet. They have not changed from what was presented in 2021. The applicant has provided in attachment F some information with regard to what the Board of Planning and Appeals and what the City Commission will look at in reviewing a rezone request. And they've also provided some analysis. Staff agrees with their analysis. Staff also finds that the project is in compliance with the comprehensive plan as well as the land development regulations. So based on that, staff is going to recommend that the Commission adopt the proposed ordinance enacting a rezone from R6, low-density multifamily residential district, to residential plan unit development, and the associated development agreement and preliminary plan for approximately 9.4 acres located on the northeast corner of the intersection of 10th and Vine Streets, and more specifically known as 1088 10th Street.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Mr. Merrill, are you going to talk to us about this?
No questions for Brian, I guess?
Oh, no. No, thank you. Thank you for pointing out my insufficiency.
Thanks for having me tonight. I'm with the Cobb Cole Law Firm, 149 South Ridgewood. Brian does a great job, as always. He's one of the best in the business, and what he's told you is pretty much the proposal. You know, what we're bringing today is a PD versus a straight zoning. The straight zoning already allows the use, already allows the buildings, already allows everything that we're bringing, other than the square footage of the units. So the reason for that, in large part, is that's what the market's bearing. That's what folks want in terms of the 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. And I've got the developer here to ask any questions, answer any questions you guys have, or Mark Doust, our civil engineer, about the plan itself. But you've seen the architecture. It's going to be a nice project. I actually did a quick survey of some of the other jurisdictions in the area. My suggestion, probably initially, it's a bigger reach than just doing it for our property. My original suggestion was that you guys probably ought to change your code because the real world doesn't reflect the 900. And so I looked at the other ones. So Ormond, Daytona, Port Orange all have a lower square footage for their minimum unit size. And so that's what the rest of the world's doing, including your immediate neighbors. So in any event, that's what we're here for. I see that there's a group of folks behind me. I assume they have questions or comments or concerns. So I'd like to reserve time to try to answer those if I can, or first answer any questions you guys have.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Merrill? Okay, none at the moment, thank you.
Thought it was pretty straightforward, thanks.
All right, thank you. Did anyone have a question for Brian? I didn't mean to skip it, but just, all right. All right, is there anyone out here who would like to speak against this project? All right. All right, everybody that's going to speak, please hold up your hand. All right, thank you. There's a timer. I suggest, that's good, there's a timer. I suggest you stay on target, stay on the, okay, so that you can get your point across to us. That's the best thing to do, okay? And no talking over anybody, all right? Okay, that would be great, all right. So, young lady, ma'am, right here in front, you're first. Hi, you're gonna have to speak up. Tell us your name and where you're from.
My name is Grace Moon Fotorero. I live at 1087 10th Street. I'm a homeowner there. It's one of the closest properties that is affected by this proposed development. Excuse me. I just want to read a little something I wrote down explaining why I'm against this development. On this exact date, 10 years ago, we made our home Holly Hill. As young homeowners, we found immense joy in the natural environment that surrounds us. The woods across the street from our front yard aren't just trees. They're a sanctuary for owls, turtles, possums, and many more creatures and pollinators that deserve protection. As a vegan citizen who values all forms of life and the tranquility of this ecosystem, we strongly oppose this development of a 3-story apartment building. We believe in preserving its natural beauty and wildlife, which is what makes Holly Hill so unique. Such a development would inevitably add to existing problems in Central Florida, such as traffic congestion increase, pollution, loss of privacy, decrease in property values, and increase of criminal activity. For example, picking up trash on our corner is a daily task. We no longer feel safe walking our dog due to the increased traffic from the thousands of apartments that have already been built less than a half mile away. This decision is not beneficial to our community, nor does it reflect its values or needs. As a registered voter, I believe it is crucial to voice out against this decision. We urge you to consider these points seriously before allowing any further steps. I also wanted to mention I started a petition over the past 4 days, have collected hundreds of signatures of citizens who agree with these same statements. Like I said, I've lived there for 10 years, and in 2021, I don't remember ever seeing anything posted or receiving anything in the mail about changing the zoning. So I just wanted to put on record that I'm against this, and I don't agree with it, and I think it'll definitely negatively impact our community.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
How you doing? My name is Benjamin Bertram. I own the property at 1087 10th Street. I'm against this proposal. The proposed house development has raised concerns about its impact on the surrounding area. The large-scale construction of a 70-unit, 3-story housing complex adjacent to her home has sparked opposition from the entire neighborhood, as you can see behind me. The key concerns include potential decrease in property value, loss of privacy and safety, increased traffic congestion, and the strain on existing infrastructures. The potential impact on property values is a significant concern, as research that shows low-income housing developments can lead to a decrease in neighboring property values. Also, having this huge 3-story eyesore right in front of our front door will greatly affect its long-term value. The natural ecosystem, particularly the wooded area across the street, serves as a habitat for numerous wildlife species, which provide a daily connection to nature. Urban development encroaches on wildlife territory and destroys the natural landscape of the area. Widespread building construction is fatal to plant and wildlife habitats. We value our privacy. We had to fight to get a special variance for our fence in our backyard. This proposal will eliminate that and make it obsolete. Moreover, the current infrastructure, especially on 10th Street, may not be equipped to handle the increased traffic volume that the housing complex would bring. The state of the road is already compromised, having undergone multiple repairs since we've owned the house. The increase of traffic will add to increasing existing safety hazards due to congestion and speeding. It will become a safety issue for families directly living on these roads. More cars also emit more greenhouse gases and exacerbates health and environmental issues caused by air pollution. This will also be an increased demand on energy, water, and waste management for the area, which can also lead to increased demand on natural resources. These concerns have underlined the negative impacts of the proposed housing development on our local community.
Excuse me, did you hear the ding?
Nope.
What, that you did ding, so you can summarize, please.
Well, that's all I have to say.
That wasn't?
225.
Oh,
That's all I
excuse
have to
me, I heard a ding. I have electronic
But
ears.
I'm very against
I
this.
absolutely heard a ding.
Um,
I'm sorry,
One
somebody's
of
cell
the-
phone maybe. I'm
One of
sorry.
the entrances is directly in front of my driveway for this building, so that really is not good for me. So I'm against that completely. I would not want someone constantly pulling on my driveway, having people coming in and out directly in front of me. Yeah, that's about all I have to say.
Okay, well, thank you.
Also,
Sorry,
crime
I'm
is
sorry to
terrible.
interrupt you. I heard the ding. I don't know what,
Crime is probably gonna go
whose
up.
phone it was. I heard it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right, next.
I'm nervous, and this is very impromptu.
Okay, you're gonna have to speak,
And it's my neighbor, and
ma'am.
I kinda
Hold
said
it.
you were- oh,
Stop.
sorry. And my name,
Your name, where you're from, and you have to speak loudly because this
Okay.
microphone has to pick you up.
Charlene Hazel, and I live at 1487 Vine Street. That's just on the corner of 10th and Vine, was near the corner of 10th and Vine.
Okay.
Just behind Ben. And I second most of what he said, what I could hear. You know, he had a lot of good points. And we have a very, you know, limited streets, limited as far as the area of the streets, and the properties are mostly retirement, and, you know, and the families further down Old Kings Road, you know, with children and everything, and it's gonna change the traffic, we know that for a fact. And so a couple years ago, I called and see if they could put a speed bump in, you know, somewhere on Vine Street to slow these people down. And I was told, because I think there was like 6 homes, you know, there's still 6 homes there, but certain limitations, so I would end up neighbors would have to pay for the speed bump. So anyway, so I kind of put that away. But there's going to be a lot of traffic, a lot of speeding, a lot of whatever goes along. And I was just wondering, so, you know, I'm just kind of against the high, well, it's not medium density anyway, but it's still a lot for that area, you know, and I do object to that and just worry about that. And I was just wondering, where are the outlets going to be for this project? Is it going to be on 10th Street? Is there going to be one coming off into David? Are they, or is there going to be some kind of, where they go into LPGA for some of that relief from traffic? Or exactly how's that going to work? You know, that's one of my concerns too, besides just having that many units.
We'll have Mr. Doust answer that for you in a few minutes.
I'm sorry?
I said, we'll have Mr. Doust answer that for you in a few minutes, okay?
Thank you for
You're welcome.
listening for me.
You're very welcome. Who's next?
Good evening, Pat Capello, 102 Palm Terrace. My property is on the northeast side, or right directly behind it. My insurance company and FEMA notified me that the areas to my east is considered wetland. I just would like to know if there's been any studies about this particular property of any runoff or impact that it may have on this area that's considered wetlands. And that's all I would like to bring up.
All right, we have an engineer that will answer that question for you. I said, we have an engineer who will answer that question for you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Hi, I'm Brittany Swartout. I live at 1083 Maple Avenue.
Okay.
Couple things that I'm concerned about. One of the things that I just moved to this house 2 years ago, and actually one of the reasons I moved here was because of the amount of natural land around the house. But one of my biggest concerns is the response that we have with the hurricane, the most recent ones. We lost power for 2 weeks where we're at. And I can't imagine, most of the power lines in this area are all above ground. I can't imagine what it would be, the strain on the government would be to take care of this amount of people that would not have power for that long. I really feel like we need to really improve the infrastructure before we even think about putting in a multifamily home like this. Not to mention the fact that this area is a huge reason why our homes don't flood. And no, putting in concrete is not gonna, we all know that concrete does not absorb water the way that natural soils and wetlands do. So we're gonna definitely increase the risk of flooding in that area. But yeah, another reason it looked like I said before was privacy. Having a 3-story building overlooking 1-story homes, people are gonna be able to see into other people's homes, into their backyards. And there's no way to block that without putting at least like a layer of trees or something in the way. So those are some of my concerns about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Lynn McDonald. I reside at 104 Palm Terrace. My property, I live next to the Capellos. My property, actually, the southern edge of my property backs up to the said property. I have a question. I think if I'm not mistaken, you guys are not gonna change anything. You just vote to make a recommendation to.
That's absolutely
Is that correct?
correct.
Okay.
That's absolutely
I just
correct.
want to make sure that that was still how that worked. Okay. So, and I kind of hate to tell everybody, but it's already zoned like it's zoned. I mean, it's not going to change anything. You know, yeah, is it going to impact our properties? Yeah. Are we going to have flooding? Abso-freaking-lutely. And we have major concerns about that. It's too much. 3 stories is too much. I know when we were here and you guys said, oh, you know, it had to be where it had to have a piece of property that it touched in Holly Hill so that you guys could, you know, get it into the city of Holly Hill. Everybody rolled over for that. Fine. Now it's in there. His clients are not going to lose money. They bought this piece of property for $96,000 and they want to sell it for over $1 million. Somebody has to say, it's too much. And I don't know that you guys can, or if you can give a recommendation, but 3-story for our little sleepy, and granted, I'm not in the city of Holly Hill, I am in the county, but that's just how it's zoned. So, please, I don't know what you can do, and it's probably too late. It's probably water under the bridge or water on our properties, but it's too much. 3-story is too much. I know it's already R6 and they want to change that, and it really, I think if I understood you correctly, all that does, what they want to do is change it so that it just decreases the size, the square footage of each unit. Is that correct?
For the 1 and the 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
You are correct that the zoning is already there. They can only do, so really what we're discussing is not really a question of whether or not the development can happen.
Right.
The development was approved back, the zoning for it was approved back in
Right.
2021. We had public hearings, we had folks here in the room, it was in the newspaper, so that already happened. What tonight is about is the bedrooms, not whether or not the development can occur, because they actually have a right to go and develop it with more units than what they're asking for.
Right.
So it's just the bedrooms for 1 and 2 bedrooms at less than 900 square feet.
Yeah, so there's really no point in us even, like, we had no discussion about this. It's already gonna happen.
Okay, are you going to talk to us, or are you going to talk to the crowd?
I'll talk right here,
Okay.
so you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
Okay. He talked during part of my time, that's why I was continuing.
Okay, I'm not taking your time away from you.
Okay, excellent.
But
All right.
are you done? Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Eileen Axelrod. I live at 1104 Jack Durana Avenue, which is actually in Daytona Beach, but I am friends with the people who live at 1087. As far as what I've heard tonight, I just wanted to put it on record that I think 600 square feet is not enough. I think that the company's taking advantage of families and the hard-earned money. I am a native New Yorker. I lived in Brooklyn for the last 9 years. I'm very aware of small spaces, and just because other towns and counties are willing to lower the rate, I understand that the property's gonna still be made, but I don't think that for our hard-earned money, that families should be robbed of square footage. People come down to Florida from up north, down here for better opportunities, and it's starting to look a lot like New York as far as pricing, especially since I live on Beachside in A1A. It's unaffordable, and we still have a huge homeless problem, and I think this would just exacerbate the problem. And also, it's just the right thing to do to give families more chances to feel like they have a home, even if they're renting and not actually homeowners. So I do oppose of it, especially the square footage part.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else? All right. Our issue tonight is exactly what's been said. It's the change in the size of the apartment. Mr. Dowse, would you come up, please? Would you mind?
Before Mark gets up, can I just make a few comments? I want to say, first of all, the folks that came out, I appreciate the input. We did get a few, I think, technical comments that we can try to respond to. They're pretty common things. The flooding, we've had flooding, and everybody knows that. So
Right.
Mark's our expert, he can talk about that. I also want Mark to talk a little bit about the configuration of the plan, because a lot of this property is going to be in an area that will be preserved, and then there'll be an area that's got stormwater. So if we can show it, I don't know if we can do that, Mark, it might be helpful to kind of walk around the property and show you the places that won't have an effect on the neighbors. And I think we also talked about access points. I know transportation impacts are a big thing. We want to talk about where cars will be coming and going. I will say, as an overview comment about that in your staff report, you do see that we don't meet the minimum threshold to have to go into a detailed analysis beyond the number of units that are there. And the most important thing is really, and I apologize for these people not being in the public process a few years ago when this property was annexed in and assigned a future land use and zoning classification. This is what both the county previously thought was appropriate here and the city ultimately thought was appropriate here. That's all been done, and I apologize that they weren't here for that. I will say that, I've been in situations like this for 35 years. This is all that I do. It's not uncommon for folks to come in and say, that 10-acre piece that's next to me that's been woods since I've been there, I prefer to have it stay like that. I would too, most people would, but that's not the case here. These folks are going to develop it. We're trying to develop it responsibly. I think we're bringing quality new housing to Holly Hill, and I know people need housing. So with that said, Mark, I'll let you kind of go through the plan.
Chairman, if I could just say one thing is,
Yes, you may.
I'm okay with Mark Anthony giving a little information. None of this is relevant.
I understand that,
Very,
Mr.
very
Simpson.
important.
I
I do
completely.
not want this body and the public to get in a dialogue about site planning.
Right.
That's not the issue before us.
The only reason I asked Mr. Dowse to come up was to answer 3 questions that I have.
I just don't want a dialogue to start and us get
Right.
off track, because I will stop
I
So-
completely agree with you.
We're only voting on
Nine-
square footage.
900 square feet is what we're voting on.
Scott, I'll say in all fairness, we did present a plans, and it's on, you know, it's been.
I just don't want to get sidetracked.
Understood.
And
Yeah.
usually you would be saying that, not me.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah, right.
But we did present a plan, so I'm gonna let Mark.
And Mr. Doust, I'm not asking you to go over the plan. That's, I wanted to ask you about the entrances and exits,
Certainly.
right? Just tell us about them. Tell us where they're going to be.
For the record, my name is Mark Dowse. I'm a project engineer with the firm Mark Dowse and Associates. We're located at 536 North Halifax, Daytona Beach. What you have up on the screen above you is a depiction of the preliminary plan, which is a part of the PUD that's being approved. There are two driveways that are shown. One is on the left side, which lines up with David Street. So it's kind of where Vine turns into to David. And then at the very lower left-hand corner, coming off of 10th Street, we have another driveway.
Thank you. Is there a stormwater plan?
Yes, there is. You have a general depiction of a stormwater system up at the top part. It's a lake. We're required to retain the stormwater runoff.
We have no sound.
No, you don't.
We're required to retain the stormwater runoff to restrict it to the pre-development flow of the existing land. And I might add, there is a wetland that is on the property, which is on the right side, and that is being preserved in its entirety.
Okay, that was my third question. All right, Mr. Dowse, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. We're there. Will you read the recommendation, please?
Yes. The recommendation is to adopt the proposed ordinance enacting a rezone from R6, low-density multifamily residential district, to residential plan unit development, RPUD, with the associated development agreement and preliminary plan for approximately 9.4 acres located on the northeast corner of the intersection of 10th and Vine Streets, and more specifically known as 1088 10th Street.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Is there any discussion? Please call the question.
Loretta?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Dowse.
I will say for the group, we're happy to talk with folks that have
Right,
questions.
I understand that.
Sorry to come across so formally sounding.
No,
You
I completely
You were
understand.
kind of swerving a little.
No, sir,
there.
I wasn't going to let us swerve.
Train wreck.
I got it. We weren't going to have a train wreck.
We can get a copy of that, like on the agendas thing. online.
Absolutely.
That's on there.
Yeah, that's all.
It's online as well.
It's online.
Okay, perfect.
We'll have a short recess while these people exit.
Yes.
Brian, are you gonna let those people know it goes to the commission? Well, this will go to the commission, right?
We're working out some details still. I will let them know. Folks, this is, just to let you all know, this still has to go to the city commission, so this is not the final meeting, okay? There'll be two more.
I have a question, what if you never got notice 2 years ago?
Yeah, I never received a notice. I live
Yeah, we got-
across from there.
That's just a question.
So that would've
Why
been-
you
Oh,
let-
hold it. But you didn't get it. It's advertised it's advertised every single time. I was here in 2021 when this happened, and there was a group of people here. Y'all just weren't here.
So does
I-
she. And no,
I'm
we
sorry.
never received anything like we had like this one where it's a signed paper I had signed for. I never received anything. from
That's
the
exactly right. We got certified mail for this meeting.
Right.
We never
Right,
got
we
it in
didn't get it in
2021 because I would
2021. I've
have
been
been
living there
here.
since,
There's a
hell,
lot of
25 years I've lived in that spot, right? One door away from where you are, what you want. And it was supposed to be, back then, it was supposed to be residential housing in there, way back then. Now, of course, they changed it in maybe 2021, they changed it to this multifamily, low density or whatever it's called. You know, now, okay, I didn't see that, I wasn't informed to come out this meeting or anything like that. in 2021.
Well, I'm sorry that y'all missed it, because a whole
Well,
bunch
you
of,
didn't send the letters out.
no, sir, the letters were sent. I don't know why you didn't get it, but they were sent. That is guaranteed, they were sent. And there's a whole bunch of people that were here that got the letters. I don't know why y'all didn't.
They might not have got, I don't think letters were sent out. I believe maybe people might have seen it in the newspaper or whatever. You know, that could have been.
No.
And for a short time, I wasn't getting the newspaper.
All right.
Since I lived in this area, I
All
always
right.
got a newspaper.
If they were certified this time, they should have been certified last time. There should be
Exactly.
a record of them getting them last time.
Something like that should be
Records
right.
are records.
All right. It didn't happen.
Unless the law changed and you didn't send them certified last time,
No, ma'am.
which you guys should be able to look up and let us know why it was certified
Not
not
only
this
that,
time.
you gotta
It wasn't
know.
last time.
You gotta know that's not right. You guys all must
No, I
know
know.
that that
I'm
isn't
saying
right.
it wasn't
It's
certified.
not right to build
We didn't have to
apartment complex right there in the
All right.
middle of all these little houses. All these little 1,000-square-foot houses. You know, my house is 950 square feet. Every house there is a little tiny house. You know, and you're gonna build this big, and you're gonna have 2 entrance exits for how many families? 70 families gonna zip in and out of that area there?
Oh, y'all, we're gonna continue our meeting. Y'all can either sit down or you can leave. One,
If you're-
your choice.
I'll sit down.
Thank you for attending our grievances this evening.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
I can't stick around, they're not putting the game on the big screen.
You may sit down or you may leave. Your choice. It's
I'm
one,
just
it's
making
one.
one note too. Currently, across the street, the
Ma'am?
only notification.
You're out of order. I'm calling this meeting to order. You are not recognized. You will either leave or you will be quiet. One or the other. It's your choice.
She's giving you some information you might not be aware of, but thank you for the professionalism.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
hope you have a good evening.
Good day. Okey dokey. Old business and new business. What happened? Old business, has anything happened with the administrative adjustment?
Yes, the commission met in a workshop and decided that at this point in time, that's not something that they would like to pursue.
Okay. All right. Mr. Simpson, you asked for time tonight for discussion of sunshine law, public records laws, and various topics as needed.
You know, they're kicking off here shortly. You want me to do it tonight, or you want me to do it next meeting? It's up to you.
Let's do it the next meeting. Anybody? But
No problem.
let's have a quick talk though about the attendance thing, and this is not personal, Loretta, by any stretch of the imagination. But there are rules, there are rules about attendance. And if we don't, and if you're not here, you can be, if you're not here in the wrong way, you're gone. You're removed without any action. It's just you're done, right? You can get reappointed, but you're not. And again, it's not you, me, anybody. All right. Robin was terrible. Robin probably had more absences than anybody that ever was that sat on this board. And he was here. He was aggravated if we went past 7 o'clock.
Did you point me out because I had an absence?
Yes, ma'am. I picked on you. I didn't pick on you per se, but we were concerned because you had like 2 out of 3, right? Or something like that, or 2 out of 4.
I did.
You did, yes, ma'am. You did.
Might have missed 2. Okay, well, then I'd like to address that.
No, okay. Well, we're going. Scott's going to tell us what the attendance rule is for all of our
I'm clear. I
things.
read it right here.
Yeah,
I understand it.
Oh.
So if I have an obligation or I'm out of town, then absolutely I'm going to notify you that I'm going to be out of town.
Yes,
One of
ma'am.
the things you may want to recommend, if you read it, it doesn't matter why you're gone. There's no such
It doesn't
thing
matter.
as excused or
There's no such thing
unexcused.
as excuse.
So as a board, and you know, in 2000 when this was adopted, there may have been other boards.
Mm-hmm.
You're all the only board now, I think, that I'm aware of, is the only board? Yeah. So this only applies to y'all. And,
Aren't we lucky?
yeah, so there is typically you do see excused, it's unexcused absences, whereas the board can excuse absences, but this just says, if you miss 2 consecutive absences, it doesn't differentiate between excused and unexcused.
Right.
Or 4 absences within a calendar year. So now we're in a new calendar year that's kind of
Slate's
reset.
watched clean.
Yeah. So, but if this board would like the ability to excuse an absence, it can be somebody be sick or a variety.
Right.
That's
might
what I
go-
was thinking.
Yeah.
They
so-
might go deer hunting or
Surgery. I mean, we're not exactly
Yeah.
prime time.
I
Right.
actually, I
Age.
vaguely kind of remember, it's
Yeah.
23 years ago, but I kind of vaguely remember this discussion with the commission at the time. And it's a totally different commission now. There's nobody on the commission that would sign this.
Right, and there's
So
probably
there's a
only
totally-
one person on this board that was
Yeah.
part of that.
Yeah, so there's nobody on this commission today that approved this resolution. And the last meeting, when we kind of mentioned it, I was looking through the code and said, I don't see anything about attendance in here. And Valerie said, well, it's a resolution. After the fact, she told me it's a resolution, not in the ordinance. But if this body would like to recommend that excused absences not be counted against somebody, but what you could do is still say, okay, in terms of the 2 consecutive, but maybe if you miss 4 out of 12 months, excused or unexcused, maybe then,
This
and
is
that's
not the
meetings,
job
that's not
board.
when we don't have a meeting, that's 4
Right.
meetings in 12 months.
Right.
Regardless of why, maybe this isn't the right job for you, but just missing 2 in a row is, if you can be excused, that's different. I'm
Right.
just throwing that out for consideration.
I think that's a great consideration,
So-
and I think that's a great consideration. And that's what got me concerned was there's no differentiation between excused and unexcused, right? And so it's automatic, right, too,
It's
isn't it?
automatic.
It's automatic.
It's not like
It's
this
not,
body
it's not
has to
like,
make a recommendation.
we don't even
or
have
the
to do
commission
anything.
has to remove somebody. It's automatic.
We've lost our seat.
That's why I didn't want to talk anymore about Robin's attendance, because if he
Quit
automatically
pointing
gone.
at me.
So it's just-
Robin.
Yeah. She said it's a hot seat.
Okay, yeah, you got the hot seat.
Yeah.
So
I got the hot
I would entertain a motion to make a recommendation that the board have the ability to excuse absences.
Would
And
you
we
want to
can-
do the
well,
2
make the
consecutive,
two-
but still
two-
leave
2 consecutive,
unexcused?
unexcused, 2 unexcused consecutive,
Yeah, add that
and
word.
4 in a year.
4 in a year, excused or unexcused.
Excused or unexcused, 4 in a year. They'll have the ability to excuse,
Right.
make excuse an absence. Because I'm going to have one in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Or I think I'm going to have one in February. I mean, that's not 2 weeks, but I'm going to be gone. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. So,
I think maybe it should be voted on to, automatically you're gone if you miss 4. Just in case there's some kind of circumstances, maybe she winds up in the hospital. Maybe Tony winds up in the
right.
hospital.
Well, but the thing
You
about
understand
that
what I'm
is
saying?
you can be reappointed. So you can lose your seat when you miss that 4th one. The commission can put you right back in your seat for the next meeting. So
Okay.
that's not,
All right.
it's not a
That's-
permanent
Okay,
damage thing,
That's
but
my
it's
concern. Like,
it's just
you know what I
it's
mean?
just a hassle,
If
yeah.
something happens, I know sometimes we have a meeting every month, sometimes we don't have for,
2 or 3 months.
2 or 3 months.
Right.
But
Roger
just so
that.
happens, hey, we have 3 meetings. Somebody winds up in the hospital, sorry to be picking on you, but somebody winds up to be in the
I was probably
hospital.
traveling, so.
Then they just fall and hit there, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Car wreck.
Right, that's, okay, so what we're back to is, I want to leave it at 4 in the year, and that the board has, and two unexcused, consecutive unexcused are the
But
ground.
ultimately, it's up to the commission. to
That's
decide.
right, but that's
This is
the
a
recommendation that we want to make. Did you get that, Leslie?
Is everybody, we don't have to have a motion, vote, and all that
No,
stuff. Is
Everybody okay with that?
Agreeable that
Oh, yeah.
something like that goes back to the commission?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. The other thing I would say that kind of became clear from COVID, I was always I always interpreted the rules and the Attorney General's opinions to say you had to be present, you had to attend meetings for the sunshine law. And there's different opinions over the years, and I always kind of came down safely, say, look, you have to be present, you have to be physically present to be able to be here. Well, what kind of came out of COVID was kind of a clear rule that says, look, as long as a quorum is present, the quorum has to be here physically. As long as a quorum's present, physically present, other members can attend electronically. And so, I'm just thinking of you said travel. If you're in a situation where you couldn't physically be here, there was a physical, but there were at least 3 people here, you could call in and attend the meeting electronically.
Zoom in or FaceTime or WhatsApp?
I know we've had the mayor.
Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Mayor was sick and he didn't want to, but we had a quorum present, so the mayor attended the meeting over the internet.
Right.
You were stuck in traffic just a couple of months ago, and you were on the phone with Brian.
Yeah, but I'm not a member, I don't vote, so,
Oh.
but
Right.
conceptually the same idea.
Right,
you know?
I don't think we've ever not had a quorum, have we?
No, I can't think of one off the top of my head, I don't.
I can remember one.
You do?
Yeah.
You do?
You did, really?
What we did, not us in years past. That, yeah, we were expecting 3 and then whoever it was, and there was only 2, and so we were,
Okay. Well, staff will put this back up for discussion with the commission, because it's been 23 years since they talked about it.
right,
So,
that'd be great. Okay.
So just to clarify, it
So-
would be, you want the ability to excuse,
Right,
and if there are 2 consecutive unexcused, you're off. 4 unexcused in 12 months, you're out.
4
Or
either.
regardless.
If you miss 4, if you miss 4
Excused or
meetings, whether
unexcused.
excused or
regardless.
unexcused.
Regardless, yeah.
And
Right.
it's not 12 months, it's a calendar year, that may, typically when I do these, it's 12 months.
Right,
During
January
a
to
12-month period
December.
of time. This is a calendar year, which means you get a reset.
Right,
So it gets reset now on January 1st.
right.
We can continue with that.
Yeah, I
as
think
well.
that's a great idea.
Okay.
Is there any way we can put the electronic,
That is through state
To the
law,
commission.
sunshine law. I mean, I think you're allowed to do it unless the commission was to adopt a policy that says you cannot do it. I would say you have the authority to do electronic appearance as long as you're in compliance with the sunshine law. That meaning at least the quorum is physically present. And the rules, which I'll go over next time, the rules do allow, our ordinances allow you to adopt policies and procedures.
Right,
So you could put that in your own policies and procedures.
okay, there you go.
My thing is, I just don't want to see anybody get eliminated from the board. There's not a whole lot of people knocking down the doors to come.
Yeah.
Right, no,
You
no,
know,
I
they
agree.
are
Everybody
we
that's
all
here is a
volunteer.
volunteer, exactly right.
You know what I mean?
I-
I know we're
I
all
agree
trying to
with
make
you.
a good effort to get here.
I agree, I completely agree with you.
I apparently need to go look at my track record and see what the reason is that I, I know there's a couple that I had to, but that was
Well, that
prior to
happens,
being on the
and-
board.
and-
Those were planned prior to
When hunting
even
season
knowing I was
comes
gonna
around,
serve here.
I go too, so it's okay. But now, we thank you for bringing this to our attention so we can get it
Absolutely.
straightened
You're welcome.
up.
You're welcome. Anything I can do for you, Mike.
All right. Oh, is there anything else that we need to talk about?
And the next time we meet, we'll talk about the other stuff.
Okay, that'd be great.
Just most importantly, do not talk to each other outside this meeting about issues.
That
Coming
might come
before
before
this
this board.
That's
Right.
the most important thing.
That's the most important. We can still go to
What
lunch
about
if we want
wanted
to.
to talk to somebody on city council?
That's fine.
That's fine.
Now, you can talk to any of the staff
Yeah,
anytime.
that's fine.
Okay.
All those are
Well, I
get out
knew
jail
we could
card
talk
fees.
to staff and, yeah, okay.
Because I will call up Ryan when I don't understand something real regularly. So, and Scott too, on occasion.
He's popular.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There we go. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Let's go. Motion carried. Don't forget your tape recorder, Mr. Walker.
Let's see.
Since you turned it off, I'm going to say something.
Okay.
On the side, you just hold.